And Moses turned the water to blood, sent pestilence upon the earth, and everything in his days that just in Egypt, and it's going to be scattered throughout all the world. Couldn't imagine. Okay, Father, we thank you, Lord, for the privilege to bring thy word now.
Wretched beggar, bound for shine and fame. I'm so glad that I found out.
Yeah,
Bring me out through his holy name. Thank God I am free, free, free from this world of sin.
Amen.
Been washed in the blood of Jesus. I've been born again.
Yes.
Hallelujah, I'm saved, saved, saved by his wonderful grace.
Amen.
I'm so glad that I found out he would bring me out and show me the way.
Thank you. Praise the Lord. That's something to be glad. There was silence in heaven, and then these trumpets began to sound. And of course, when we found in the second verse, the high priest coming out and getting the prayers of the saints and pouring that out upon the earth, that was on the previous chart. And then the first trumpet sounded in verse 7, and hail and fire mingled with blood was cast upon the earth, and the third part of the trees and so on was burned. And then the second trumpet sounded, and this is chapter 8 now, verse 8, and there was a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood. And then the third part of the creatures and so on, and that died. And then the third trumpet, and the angel sounded, and a great star came down from heaven, and it was like unto a lamp, and it got into the water, and called wormwood, and turned the water very bitter, and a lot of folks died from that. And then of course the fourth trumpet sound, and this is actually bringing in through these trumpets here, the woe, these three woes mentioned in chapter 8 and verse 13 here. And it said this angel sounded the third part of the sun, the moon, and stars is all smiting. And when you think about something, the third part of something in the heavens being touched on in this field, we think about a lot of times that Satan, when he was cast out of heaven, over in Isaiah in chapter 14, called Lucifer, that he brought the third part of the stars, or the third part of the angels, was put out with him. Of course, the angels, according to Peter and Jude, they were fastened up and set up until the time was they were to be needed. Now, what I want to stress on the point on here is that this is just kind of the forerunner of what's going to take place over in chapter 12 here in the book of Revelation. And it says in verse 13, therefore rejoice you heavens, and you that dwell in them, but woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great power. And he came in a great wrath, because he knew that he had but a short time. And then when it had the battle with him here in verse 7, Michael the archangel had fought the devil and will fight him here, according to Scripture, and he fought the devil's angels. And then he said a great dragon was cast out, that old serpent in verse 9, which called the devil and Satan, and which deceived the whole world, and he was cast out on the earth. And the latter part of this verse is outstanding, and a lot of times we overlook it. And it says his angels were cast out with him. Now we want to put a lot of emphasis on these angels. Now, as you go back, let me run back over in the book of Jude here. This is the little book right before Revelation. And it says here that in verse 6, and the angels were kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, yet reserved in everlasting chains under darkness, under the judgment of the great day. And so these angels here, he said, were put in chains. And then over in the book of Peter, we have the same thing here in the book of Peter, and chapter 2. And he says here, for if God, in verse 4, for if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. Now, then when we read this, and we go back to Revelation and chapter 9, and we'll bring out some things here in this chapter. Now, over in chapter 1, of course, Jesus identified him as having the keys to death and hell. And no door can be opened or shut without Jesus gives the authority. Now, John here was standing here, and the angel with the trumpet was beginning to sound. Now, this is the fifth angel. And he said, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And this is the great bottomless pit. I made an art show of it here. Now, to find directly or to tell you where it is, I do not know. The bottomless pit is bottomless. I do know that they have found in the universe a black hole, they call it, that it's drawn in great stars into it, and got a great vacuum to it. Because supposedly it would be no problem for it to be in the heavens. Now, the bottomless pit is a place that he puts things that he reserves till later. And so when you think of the fallen angels, and a lot of them angels that follows the devil even today, and all the unclean spirits of the devil that goes along with him, and then those that are in chains, and those that supposedly are being loosened into the day, put into the pit. Now, the Lord, one time, just to give you a little picture of what happened here, he met a feller that lived in the tombs. Now, this feller that lived in the tombs was possessed with a legion of devils. Now, we know that it was 2,000 hogs that they entered in, and they went off into the sea and was choked. But what I want you to think about is, I hunted up a legion. The legion is around 5,000 or more. And so a legion can mount a great group of evil, unclean spirits. But these were spirits of devils, and the Lord said, go into the deep. Now, back in those days, we would not know what he was talking about until he mentioned the word bottomless pit. And so he sent those beasts, or those creatures, not into the hogs, but into the depth and into the deep. Now then, in order to get these creatures out of the bottomless pit in such a manner that there's nothing on earth that can kill them, nothing on earth can do anything against them to stop them, because they move with great power. Now then, the only thing that's got that kind of power would have to be something that was originally in heaven to start with. But we want to fall back here just for a short, and we find here that when the angel or the star came down here with the key, drove Jesus, handing him the key to the bottomless pit. The only way that he could get this key, of course, it would have to come from Jesus, and then the false prophet and the lion beast and this following along with him here. This is just a version of the devil brought up sort of, as they'll find him later on, all stretched out with his 7 heads and 10 horns. But anyway, we find that he comes down here, and the Lord gave him the key, and he went over and opened up the bottomless pit. Now, we realize what these things look like. And it identified this angel, or this star coming down from heaven over yonder, and it said that he was, name was in Greek, Apollos, and that means a destroyer, or something very evil. And this would have been, to me, but it been the devil. It was taken over here, and the Lord was giving him the right to loosen this bottomless pit. Now within this bottomless pit was some creatures. Now these creatures looked like something out of a store out of California or somewhere, or Hollywood, but these things are actually going to come out upon the earth. And man is going to be in trouble when they show up. Now remember, Jesus still has the authority, and he calls it as it is when it comes to pass. And so he said, I saw the star fall from heaven upon the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And so we found then that the devil was cast out upon the earth in chapter 12. But this was come later. And so I guess if we wanted to put it in these sense, these creatures is the first fruit of the devil in this great power moving out of this bottomless pit upon the earth. The stars, the sun, the moon was disturbed because of this great bottomless pit. And so when it talks about the sun or the air, we think especially in things about in heaven. And so it makes my thought go into this area where they talk about this deep hole in space, something that they had never seen before. Now the Lord said in the last days, we'll see some strange things happening in the universe. Now you say, will we ever be invaded from outer space? I want you to know we're already invaded from outer space. And we're already seeing things which this world has not seen in a long time. And you go back to the days of Noah and the days of Lot, and you'll find some of these things are happening. Man could not control things in the days of Noah. And there had to be awful evil spirits back in those days, and for God to come down or send down the flood and wipe them out. And there had to be a terrible spirit in the days of Lot, because the angels that went down there to destroy it was the only one that could handle these men that came to Lot's house at night to take these angels. So we find these creatures are similar to those that would possess man back in the old days. All through the Bible, the Old Testament, you'll find some folks that possessed with real bad spirits, evil spirits. Now these spirits of devils are stronger than just what you call an unclean spirit or a bad spirit or an evil spirit, because they're extra strong, and two reasons is they are equal with power with the devil, and another thing is they're eternal. Another thing is they cannot be killed. Another thing is man cannot control them. And so there has to be something very powerful. Now as we draw these creatures, of course the Bible tells what they look like. He said they had tails as they came up out of the bottomless pit, and they had a sting in their tail. They looked like a scorpion, similar to a scorpion, and they had a face of a man and hair like a woman. And they were crowned with a crown, and they had teeth here, as it were, suppose a lion, I believe. But anyway, we find that they had teeth also, and they could torment. Man could not do anything with them. They were breastplated up in armor in such a fashion that anything that man would have would not handle them. Let me take a few verses of it. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and upon them was given, or unto them was given power, as the scorpion of the earth hath power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth. Now these naturally would be creatures headed for grass, but no, neither any green thing, neither any tree, not just the life which a normal scorpion would go to, but only the those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead, cannot handle them. But anything else they can take over. And to them was given that their power does not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment were as a torment of a scorpion when he stung a man. And in those days shall man seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Now death is also, we know, runs along with the pale horse rider, and so he won't even permit man to die. Men are people that die. And these creatures will come out upon the earth. Now they are limited to 5 months. 5 months of stinging men, and those which have the seal of God would be the 144,000, of course, and those that receiveth not the mark or the name or the number of the beast, of course, would be protected by enduring to the end. And so I put him here as he was stinging a man upon the earth. And here, man was desiring to die and could not die. And these creatures was giving man a hard way to go. Now we know that they have not yet come out of this pit. We know that the angels, part of the devil, do not have a body. And so therefore they have taken on themselves a body similar to a scorpion. And they moved upon this earth. Now, I never found in the Scripture where they disappeared at. I don't know what happened to them after the 5 months if I just look at it and stop right here. But eventually, everything had to be destroyed. And so, no doubt, their bodies fell by the power of the Lord somewhere in between this area here and the time that the Lord came back to the earth and eventually put them into the lake of fire. But anyway, we find then, as these creatures moved upon man, that man were in trouble. Now, listen, death sometimes scares you and I, and we worry about it. But if you think about it, in a situation like this, it would have been better to die. I've never been stung by a scorpion, but they say the pain is unbearable, and it continues it. And sometimes even death occurs when a certain scorpion stings a man, and it eats out the area around the sting. The flesh dies around the sting. These individuals will not be able to die. And we found when the Lord come, he said they would hide in the caves and the rock, trying to get away from it, no place to go. And so these are powerful creatures. Now, I drawed a picture. My picture would not look anything like these creatures. They supposedly are larger than a scorpion. But nevertheless, that does not give the size of them. But they do have a knack, and that's to sting men, aggravating men, and men would like to die. Now just think about something. You say, preacher, you're talking about a horror story from Hollywood. No, I'm talking about a reality. I'm talking about something that's going to happen upon this earth one of these days. The only way that these creatures could get out on the earth is that the Lord permitted the devil to turn them loose upon the earth. And of course, they had to be shut back in to the bottomless pit. Now, whether they went back in their bodies or not, I do not know, but we find that it was opened again and be opened again a couple of more times or several more times before we get out of this chart. And so these had to be restrained back, probably into the pit till later on. But they give man a lot of trouble for the 5 months they were here upon the earth. And then the bottomless pit again will be turned loose and rise up. And that was the Roman Empire, and we'll find this again later on. And so they talked then about the shape of these locusts, and they were like unto horses, it says. I think we got a similarity of a horse here, prepared unto battle. and their heads were as it were crowns and black gold, and their face are as the face of a man, and teeth were as the teeth, and that were as the teeth. I lost me somewhere here. And they had hair, and the hair of a woman, and there were lines of lines, and they had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron. Now this is not talking about like iron that man makes, but something other much stronger, because nothing that man makes can handle these creatures. And the way they had the sound of their wings, whereas the sound of chariot and many horses running to battle. Now you see, they got wings on them here, and in other words, they were swarming, similar to a locust. Our locust is swarming, and they were making a terrible racket as they moved across the land, and they had the tails like a tail of a scorpion, and there was sting in their tail, and with their power was to hurt man 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is an angel of the bottomless pit. And that was it might be, you call it the devil. And it gives us the words here in the Hebrew and in Greek, meaning destroyer, or one that has great power. And here again, the angel or the star showed up. And he said, now one woe is past, and behold, there cometh 2 woes more. Now just imagine, this woe was one thing, 5 months long. But then he said, here comes 2 more. Now notice that when we talk about these woes, the last woe comes from the 7th trumpet. And the 7th trumpet brings us into the fulfilling of a lot of things out of the book of Revelation. And so we'll move into this sixth angel. And here, John said the 6th angel sounded. Now what we have here, when he sounded, he said, I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the 6th angel, which had the trumpet, loosen the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates, and the 4 angels were loosened, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year to slay, or that is the 3rd part of man. And so it draws the great river Euphrates here, and then the 4 angels in John, and the angels sounded the trumpet, then the altar, the golden altar in heaven, and the voice that we hear here. Now we find in the book of Psalms about the voice of the Lord, and read when he sounds it, things begin to happen. When he speaks, things begin to happen. And so he here was showing us a foreview of the river Euphrates drying up and making preparation for the kings that to come down upon Jerusalem. And we get into the battle a little later on. And so we have here an altar in heaven. I brought this altar of gold and put the fire and 4 horns on the altar. Now the 4 horns on the altar, actually if it's an earthly altar, is where they tie the beast down to offer him as a sacrifice unto God. But this one didn't need no sacrifice on the altar, because the fire was taking care of everything. And so we find then that the 4 horns of the altar was a place of sacrifice. Already we have the sacrifice been paid on the cross of Calvary. Already has the sacrifice been taken care of when it was nailed to the cross of Calvary. And on the 3rd day, when he resurrected from the tomb and got victory over death, hell, and the grave. And so we know then it's victory in Jesus. And if you're saved, born again, and you got something to rejoice about, because the blood of the Lamb has taken care of you and I. Without the shedding of blood, of course, there's no remission of sin. And then we have an invasion
Ephesian army coming down, and it was showing us how this army now. I know a lot of preachers use helicopters, tanks, airplanes, and things that man's made for this great invasion. I know this will be a battle with kings, great men and mighty men. We'll find this later on. I will come down on Jerusalem, and we find here that it was given us what the shape of them was. And again, I believe it was using some strong individuals. And we find here that the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in a vision, and them that sat upon them having breastplates of fire and of jasper and of brimstone, and the head of the horses whereas it was the head of the lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. And by these three were the third part of man killed by the fire, by the smoke, and the brimstone issued out of their mouth. And so I brought the horses, and I brought a tail like a serpent, and this serpent tail had power in it. In other words, if they passed up anything, it would destroy it behind them. You might think of a tank that has a fire flying out of the instrument of it. These creatures cannot be stopped by man. They have taken over the kings of the earth. They have taken over the captains, the mighty men of the war armies on the earth. A lot of these are going to be coming out of China, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and countries over in that area, Iran, Iraq, and all them countries will be in the footprints of these things, and a lot of them will be destroyed on their way coming through their country. These creatures will take on bodies of men. They'll be the leadership which cannot be destroyed, and have a face that's set like a lion, as a man sitting upon them, and horses and breastplates, and nothing could stop them. And out of their mouths went these fire and smoke and brimstone upon the face of the earth. How they move across the globe. They're out of Jerusalem, coming down on God's people live in Jerusalem. Of course, you know the one that will stop them will be the Lord on the white horse. And their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails they were like unto serpent, and heads, and had with them they did hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of their works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and images of gold and silver and brass and stone and wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murder or their sorcery, neither of their fornication nor of their thievery. Mean much individuals, no respect for mankind, move upon the face of the earth. When these four angels are turned loose, this turns this loose upon the Holy Land. I'm glad the Lord's got plans to take care of that situation. As we get further on, we'll find what will happen to everything that eventually has sprung up under this great fire. And we find then, as they begin to move, of course we will stop here on them for a while, and we'll go to chapter 10. Now these again will spring up again, and not in this form exactly, but in the fact that they're part of the battle. And so we find then that we get into chapter 10 of the book of Revelation. Of course, you know, our chapter 10, we have the thunders. Now listen to what he says here. And I saw another mighty angel coming down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was wrapped on his head, and his face were as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his foot, or right foot, upon the sea, and his left foot upon the earth. Now Daniel, I see some of this in his day. And of course, you know, this mighty angel standing partly on the sea and partly on the earth has a right and has the power from God to execute anything he so desired. He gave unto us grace. One of these days, something you're going to begin to have to hear. How this angel was not identified as the Lord Jesus, but it's got the same power, and so you can identify him as Jesus if you so desire. And cried with a loud voice, and was as if when a lion roared, and when he had cried, seven thundered uttered their voice. And there was a little book, and John was standing here, and he started to write what these seven thunders had uttered. A voice from heaven, and seven thunders uttered their voice. Now over in Psalms again, we'll find what Psalm gives the voices of the Lord. Seven of them. I don't know if I can mark them out, find them here quickly or not, but we'll get them to you later on. Because I got them. So where I can't remember exactly the chapter and the verse they're in, but it's seven voices of the Lord are coming down from heaven. And so in these seven voices you'll find, and these seven trumpets, I believe it was Psalms maybe 90, 29, I ain't sure which one, I believe it was 29, Psalms 29, and started there with these voices. Now, these seven voices, of course, are seven thunders. And he was told not to write those down. So, John was told then later on that here he said, and he said unto me, thou must prophesy again before many people, nations, tongues, and kings. Now, in the chart so far, I've not been able to place John in there. And it seems like he's coming on over into the latter part. And later on, we'll try to pick him out and get him back in here. But anyway, Psalms 29 is where it is. And it says, and this gives unto the glory of the Lord the glory by due to his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Then it says, the voice of the Lord is upon the waters, the God of great thunder, and the Lord is upon many waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaketh the cedars. Yea, the Lord breaketh the cedars of Lebanon. He maketh them also to skip like a calf, Lebanon, and size which is a young unicorn. And the voice of the Lord devoureth the flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shaketh the wilderness. The voice of the Lord, the Lord shaketh the wilderness of Ch.8. And the voice of the Lord maketh the hinds feet to cling, or young deer, and discovereth that before us. And his temple doeth everyone speak of his glory. The Lord sitteth upon the flood, yea, the Lord setteth kings forever. The Lord will give strength unto his people. The Lord will bless